Hello all you lovely people of the internet. I hope you've had a fantastic week. As always, before we jump in, if you're enjoying the videos and want to help support the channel, please consider liking and subscribing. It genuinely means a lot and helps more than you could know. With that out the way, I'm Lady, and here are 5 indie games that I think look absolutely awesome this week. We're kicking off things with a game that takes one of the most soul-crushing experiences known to humanity and somehow turns it into a compelling simulation. Thank You For Your Application is a narrative-driven management game set in the sprawling city of Aeropolis, where after enduring 15 rounds of interviews and still failing to land your dream job, you're instead offered a position on the other side of the desk. Congratulations, you're now a junior interviewer. Your role is simple on paper. Review CVs, check documents, follow company guidelines, and decide who gets hired and who receives yet another rejection letter. Easy enough. Until you start looking a little closer at exactly what those guidelines are asking of you. As the days pass, you'll sift through increasingly questionable hiring criteria, balance your own finances, maintain your mental well-being, and slowly begin uncovering the truth behind both the company and the city it controls. The gameplay immediately gave me strong papers, please energy, but instead of policing a border, you're navigating the corporate hiring machine, deciding who gets an opportunity and who gets pushed aside. And honestly, that feels almost as dystopian. What really caught my attention though is the way the game appears to blur the line between doing your job and questioning the system itself. The candidates all have their own stories, backgrounds and struggles, and it looks like many of your choices will force you to decide whether you're loyal to the company or to the people who are trapped inside it. The pixel art style is charming, the premise is wonderfully cynical, and judging by the multiple endings, it seems like there'll be plenty of difficult decisions to wrestle with along the way. If you've ever looked at a job listing and thought, who on earth came up with these requirements, then Thank You For Your Application might be the game for you. Next up we have Maseylia, Echoes of the Past, a gorgeous looking 3D Metroidvania that seems determined to answer one very important question. What if movement itself was the reward? Set within a vast interconnected sci-fi world, Maseylia puts exploration front and centre as you venture through ancient ruins, forgotten cities, alien forests and all manner of strange techno-organic landscapes in search of the secrets hidden within the world itself. Now, if you've played a Metroidvania before, you'll already know the drill. You find a new ability, suddenly remember 17 places you couldn't reach earlier, and immediately abandon whatever you were doing to go and investigate them. I know I've done that. Maseylia fully embraces that philosophy, but in 3 dimensions. As you progress, you'll unlock abilities like air dashes, grappling hooks, and double jumps, each one dramatically changing how you navigate the world and opening up entirely new routes and shortcuts. Honestly though, the thing that immediately grabbed me was the movement. Everything looks incredibly fluid. The trail gives off that wonderful feeling where simply travelling through the world looks fun. And for a game that's built around exploration, that is exactly what you want. The visual style deserves a mention as well. The environments have this beautiful dreamlike sci-fi aesthetic, where nature and ancient technology seem to blend together into something both familiar and completely alien. It's the kind of world that practically begs you to poke around every corner just to see what's hiding there. As someone who has a habit of getting hopelessly lost in Metroidvanias, this is absolutely the sort of game that could consume an entire weekend before I even realise what's happened. From thoughtful exploration to absolute chaos, our next game is called Upload Aliens, and honestly, I think the title tells you almost everything you need to know. Upload Aliens is a fast-paced action roguelike set in a vibrant cyberpunk world, where your mission is simple. Don't let the aliens touch the ground. Playing as the cyberpunk knight, you'll slash, launch, and juggle waves of extraterrestrial invaders through the air before turning them into explosive projectiles and firing them straight back into their friends. The combat looks incredibly frantic, with huge chains of attacks rewarding players who can keep the action airborne for as long as possible. What really caught my attention though is how focused the game seems to be. The developers describe it as being playable with just a handful of controls, and I kind of love that philosophy. Sometimes games don't need 100 systems laid on top of one another. Sometimes they just need one really good idea and the confidence to commit to it. Visually, the game also pops off the screen. Bright pixel art, flashy explosions, and enough chaos to make it look like every run could spiral completely out of control at any moment. And frankly, that's the kind of nonsense I can definitely get behind. Speaking of taking simple ideas and making them significantly more complicated than they have any right to be, let's talk about rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Our next game proves that no matter how straightforward a concept is, somebody, somewhere, will eventually turn it into a roguelite. You play as Fred, an unfortunate individual who's desperately needing of money, and somehow decides that entering increasingly questionable rock, paper, scissors tournaments is the answer to his problems. At first glance, the game appears deceptively simple. Pick rock, paper, or scissors. Easy. Except that every opponent comes equipped with their own special rules, abilities, and tricks, designed to completely throw that simplicity out of the window. Some punish ties, some steal your upgrades, some manipulate the rules entirely. And before long, what started as a playground game starts feeling suspiciously like a boss rush. Between matches, you'll earn money, collect upgrades, and gather strange items in an effort to survive the increasingly bizarre runs. What really sold me though was the presentation. Everything is hand-drawn and packed with personality. The characters all look delightfully weird, and the whole game has this wonderfully chaotic energy about it. Honestly, rock, paper, scissors roguelikes should not work as a pitch, but somehow it absolutely does. Last but certainly not least, we have You Are the Monster, which might genuinely be the most honest game title I think I've seen in a while. Because that's exactly what you are. No tragic backstory, no secret redemption arc, no attempts to justify your actions. You're a giant monster and your objective is to destroy absolutely everything. Simple. You Are the Monster is an action roguelike where you'll stomp, smash, and rampage your way through cities, while becoming increasingly powerful with every bit of destruction you leave behind. Of course, humanity isn't particularly thrilled with this arrangement, but the more chaos you cause, the stronger the response becomes. Police soon give way to military forces, drones and tanks, and airstrikes as the city desperately attempts to stop your reign of destruction. What appealed to me most is how refreshingly straightforward the entire concept is. Sometimes you don't want a deeply emotional story. Sometimes you don't want complex crafting systems. Sometimes you just want to become a giant monster and throw an entire city into absolute disarray. And judging by the gameplay, that's exactly what this delivers. It also reminds me of those older games where being the villain was half the fun. There's something incredibly satisfying about a game simply handing you ridiculous amounts of destructive power and saying, go on then, cause some problems. And honestly, who am I to argue with that? So that's my list for this week. I genuinely love how wildly different indie games can be. Within a single video, we've gone from dystopian corporate interviews to sci-fi exploration, cyberpunk alien-juggling, weaponized rock, paper, scissors, and finally becoming an unstoppable kaiju. And somehow every single one of those ideas works. Hopefully you found something that caught your eye, but if not, I'd love to know what games you're looking forward to. Feel free to drop your recommendations down in the comments below because my wishlist clearly isn't long enough already. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic week. Take care of yourselves and I'll see you in the next one.